Good morning, everyone. It is Throat Punch Thursday, July 28th, and we are, wow, another big day of earnings. After the close today, we have Amazon and, of course, one of my favorites, Apple. We had Qualcomm yesterday and Meta. We had Etsy, and we're going to take a look at some of those. This is our overall futures. Yesterday, we had the FOMC decision. It came right in line with what we expected, 75 basis points. But the language, I think, is really what spurred us along. We'll see if we get full continuation from that. Last time during the Fed, we had, in May, we had a rally, and then we came back in, and we took every little bit of that out the following day. So we have GDP data about to come out in under an hour, and that can certainly move markets. One thing we heard from Powell yesterday is that although we're slipping in some areas of the economy, we are very strong in others. So he does not consider that this is a recession. So interesting, one of the things you'll constantly hear is that 2 negative quarters defines a recession. That is not actually true. It is indicative, and every time we've had 2 negative GDP quarters, since the Great Depression, it has actually brought about or has preceded a depression, or a recession. Don't need to speak that. A recession. However, that is not even one of the data points that is used by the NEBR to determine and declare a recession. One of the things that a recession has to be a broad-based market slowdown, typically with employment struggles. And we're not really seeing that. We're seeing such a mixed bag. Now, does that mean we're not in a recession? To be honest, I don't care. I don't care if we're in a recession. Do you know what I look at every day is when I go to the grocery store? I'm paying attention to inflation, because how much am I paying for that gallon of milk? When Troy's filling up the truck, how much is it costing us every time we fill up, and how does that affect our budget? So I think it matters less what you call it. It is the day-to-day, what affects you, and who cares if it's a recession or not. There are plenty of people who do great during a recession, and plenty of people who do very poorly during a growing and abounding economic time. So don't worry as much about the definition. Pay attention to the chart. All right, so we had this big candle here yesterday, kind of quiet going into today. We saw, like I said, Meta, some of the larger names report. Meta report, and it's a whole hot mess this morning. We knew it was going to be a not great report, but like Google or Microsoft, we were hoping, that maybe it was a less bad report than what we expected. And it is right at yesterday's low, sitting at 162.73. So what do I think about that for today? I'd watch that for a bit of a reversal, to be honest. I honestly thought it would, if it was going to be just absolutely just terrible, worse than we thought, I think we would be down a lot more than the recent lows. But as of right now, if we opened up, because when the market opens, the pre-market data is not indicated in the candles, in the daily candles, it would actually be putting in a higher low at this moment. So, just wait and see. QCOM is another one that reported a lot of supply chain issues. They did renew their patent, or extend their patent with Samsung, or their agreement with Samsung. Not enough to hold them. Hold them green. They are sitting at 148.20 this morning. However, Etsy, they have increased their fees, and they are continuing to do well. So Etsy is a bright spot, and that one's been on our list anyway. Going as far as just been able to climb up very well, took in and put in this nice little bull flag. All right, some other news that is out. We have JetBlue is the winner. They're actually slightly green, but JetBlue is the winner, going ahead of to buy Spirit Airlines. So look at that, and Frontier was the other contender in there. So look at JetBlue. It is actually green on that news, which is kind of unusual. Normally they would go red. But SAVE, S-A-V-E, is the Spirit Airline ticker, and they, of course, are up, sitting around 25.30. So take a look at that. as I mentioned, Apple, Amazon, all getting ready to report. All of these names moved very well yesterday during the FOMC announcement. Like I said, this thing started and it just kept going. So if we look at the daily from yesterday, look at that. So we just waited, and waited for the FOMC announcement. Started talk. This was the announcement here, 2 o'clock, and this was him talking, and then sold off just a little bit into the end of the day. So again, wait for the follow through on that. Don't just assume that we're going to continue on. And we also have that GDP data out this morning. All right, all that being said, what are some names that we are watching? I would go back EMPH. So these names have had earnings. Take a look at them for continuation. ENPH did very well. We just talked about Etsy doing well. Netflix continues to perform quite well since their earnings, and they are continuing up. Comcast had great earnings this morning, so we'll see if that continues on with it. We saw Pfizer report this morning. Watch for it. They are green going into the session. GE, kind of interesting. They've been beat up really bad lately. I mean, this used to be, wow, what a great company it was. And, well, okay, so we're on the road to recovery here. We had a nice earnings day. Inside candle, look for the continuation off of that. Google, they fought back very nicely after missing on earnings on Tuesday. Microsoft, a lot of tech names took a very nice run, so take a circle back to some of those. But again, remember Amazon, Apple after the close today, so we will see what continues on. And again, this GDP number is going to be a big market mover, I do believe, here going into the day. Also, take a look at some of the staples. We saw some of these names like New, SLB, do fairly well, like this inside candle on SLB. And it got, so I think it got competing buy and sells from different places. So, well, I don't pay enough attention to those anyway. Chips, the chip bill did make it through the Senate. It's being sent to the House floor. So NVIDIA, NXPI, INTC. But again, be very cautious here going into this last really big earnings day of the week. By the end of next week, pretty much most of the S&P will have reported. Okay, that is it for me this morning. If you have any questions, reach out. I'll look for some day trades now that we're past FOMC, but I don't want to hold a lot going into the rest of those earnings. So I will be cautious. But if you have any questions, reach out. Heather C. at GivingTreeTrading.com.